Hey everyone. I don't even know why I'm turning this camera on. I guess I just need to say this out loud. I need to tell someone. I need to know if I'm the monster in this story. Because for the last 6 months, I've been living in this fog. And she definitely thinks I am. And maybe I am. I don't know. You tell me. It all finalized itself, God, about 8 months ago. The day she left. I remember every detail. It was a Tuesday. 7 a.m. The sky was that awful flat gray color, the kind that just saps all the hope out of the morning. I was standing in the foyer of, well, my house, the house I built, and I was watching my wife of 15 years, Lena, line up her suitcases by the door. Not one, not two. Four massive suitcases. The expensive ones we bought for our anniversary trip to Japan that never happened. And behind her, her family, her mother, her two younger sisters, and her parasitic cousin. All four of them standing there like some kind of tragic Greek chorus pretending to look sad. Their eyes were low, but you could see the smugness, the anticipation. They were celebrating. She turned to me. She'd already had her hair and makeup done. Perfect. Like she was going to a meeting, not ending a marriage. And she said, "I'm leaving, Mark. This, this," she gestures around the foyer at the life I thought we built. "It's not enough. I need to find myself." That's what she said. Find myself. As if she was some lost teenager, not a 40-year-old woman. Her voice didn't even shake. That's what killed me. There was no sadness, no remorse. It was transactional. The sound of the taxi pulling up was the loudest noise in the world. She hugged her mother, and her mother whispered something in her ear, and they smiled. A quick, sharp little smile. They thought I didn't see it. I see everything. I always have. That's my curse. I met Lena 15 years ago. I was just getting my software consultancy off the ground. I was the architect, the coder, the guy who made the engine run. But I was terrible at, well, this. Talking to people. Selling. She was electric. We met at a tech conference. She wasn't even in tech, she was in marketing, but she was sharp. She saw the potential in what I was building. Or rather, she saw the potential in me. She saw someone she could mold, someone she could use. I just saw a partner. I saw the missing piece of my puzzle. We built everything from scratch. The first 5 years, we lived in a tiny apartment, eating ramen noodles, pouring every cent into the business. My business. But I made her a partner, 50-50. We're in this together, I said, and I believed it. I really did. I loved her. I loved her more than I'd ever loved anything. I loved the idea of her. When we finally hit it big, landed that $5 million contract with the logistics firm, the first thing we did was build the house. Our forever home. A 6,000 square foot custom build. It had a kitchen she designed, even though she never cooked. It had a garden she raved about, even though she never once put her hands in the dirt. I was the one who planted those roses. I was the one who fixed the broken tiles. She was just the one who posed for pictures in it. But I was happy. I thought we were happy. I thought the business, the company, was our shared dream. I was the chief architect, she was the CEO. I built the product, she sold it. It worked. Until it didn't. It started slowly. So slowly I gaslit myself into thinking I was crazy. It started about 3 years ago. The late-night client calls, the weekend retreats for networking, the sudden obsession with traveling. Alone. "It's for the business, Mark," she'd say, tapping her nails on her phone. "You just focus on the code. Let me handle the clients." And I did, like an idiot. I buried myself in my work, told myself she was just ambitious. I told myself that the distance I felt, that cold spot in the bed, was just stress. The pressure of success. I was justifying everything, the way she'd angle her phone away from me. The way she'd laugh at texts and just say, "Oh, it's just my mother." The new friends she was meeting for drinks, the ones I was never, ever invited to meet. I just, I kept my head down. I kept working. I kept building. I built her an empire to live in, and I didn't even realize I was building it for her and someone else. The family? Her family. They were always there. Her mother moved in temporarily after her father left. That was 5 years ago. Her sisters always needed money. A car repair, a startup idea. I was the bank. The quiet, reliable, boring bank. I see that now. I was the infrastructure. I was the utility. You don't thank the utility. You just get angry when it stops working. And then it did stop working. For me, anyway. The day I found out. The day the lie finally got too big for her to hide. So the discovery. It wasn't one big aha moment. It was death by 1,000 cuts. 1,000 little paper cuts. It started with the slip. The classic, cliche slip of the tongue. But it was how it happened. We weren't even fighting. We were just existing. That's what our marriage had become. Just two people existing in the same 6,000 square foot space. We were in bed. I was reading. She was on her phone as usual. Tap, tap, tapping away. She'd been tense for weeks. I assumed it was business. The new European expansion she was so excited about. I rolled over, turned off my light, and said, "Good night, Lena." And she just mumbled, half asleep. "Good night, Stefan." Stefan, not Mark. Stefan. I didn't say anything. I stopped breathing. The blood in my veins turned to ice. It was so casual. She didn't even notice. I lay there, staring at the ceiling for hours. Who is Stefan? The next morning I asked her, "Who is Stefan?" And the performance she gave. Oscar-worthy. What? Who? I didn't say that. You're dreaming, Mark. You're stressed. She actually laughed. She patted my cheek. You're working too hard on that new algorithm. You're hearing things. That was the first mistake she made. Telling me I was hearing things. Because I'm an architect, a software architect, my entire my entire life is built on finding patterns, finding bugs, finding the one line of code that doesn't make sense. And Stefan was a bug, a critical system failure bug. So I started digging, not in her phone. I wasn't that guy, not yet. I started with my systems, our systems. I built the entire IT infrastructure for our home and our business. The custom firewalls, the cloud backups, the network monitoring, I did it all. I was the admin. I logged into the network console, and I looked. I just watched, and I saw it. Her laptop, her work laptop. It was making a constant encrypted connection, a handshake, every 30 minutes, not to our company servers, not to AWS, not to any client, a private server, one I didn't recognize. I traced the IP. It was registered to a shell company in Switzerland. My heart was in my throat. Mark Hesita Esfrega Osolos, I did something I swore I'd never do. I was the admin on our family software suite. Her account was linked to my admin email for password recovery. I did a password reset. I told myself it was for security. I told myself I was protecting the company. I don't know what I was telling myself. I had to know. I got in. It wasn't a cloud backup. It was a project folder. That's what it was called. Project New Life. I opened it, and it was everything. It was years of deception, folders. Lisbon apartment. Bali wedding. Stefan, financials. And photos. So many photos. Him. Stefan. The business consultant she'd supposedly hired to help with the European expansion. The guy I'd met. The guy I'd shaken hands with in my own house. The guy she said was just a colleague. There they were. In Paris, in Rome, on a beach somewhere I didn't recognize. Kissing, holding hands. living a whole other life. But it was worse than that. It wasn't just an affair that I could almost understand. People fall out of love. It happens. No. This was this was a conspiracy. There was a folder labeled business transition, and I opened it, and it was my company, my algorithm, the one I just spent 18 months developing. It was all there. The source code, my client lists, and a business plan. A plan to dissolve our US-based company while she was abroad and transfer all the assets, all the intellectual property to a new entity. The one in Switzerland, his company. They weren't just leaving me. They were planning to gut me, to erase me, to take the entire 15 years of my life's work and steal it. And the family. Oh God, the family. That's when I saw the other files, the flight itineraries, not just for her, not just for Stefan, for her mother, her two sisters, her cousin, and her brother and his wife, the six of them, the four I saw at the door. They were just the first wave. The other two were following a week later. They had job titles in the new company. Her mother was listed as office manager. Her cousin, who can barely use email, was listed as head of client relations. They were all in on it. Every time I paid for a car repair, every time I hosted them for Christmas, every time I smiled and nodded at their stupid stories, they were all laughing at me. I wasn't family, I was the mark, the easy, quiet, stupid tech guy who would just keep coding while they hollowed out his life. I sat there in my office for, I don't know, hours. The sun went down. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything. And then I did. It wasn't sadness. It was Mark Chera Opunho. It was cold. It was clarity. She thought I was just the engine, the guy in the basement who made the lights work. She forgot one thing. The architect doesn't just build the house. He knows exactly where all the load-bearing walls are. He knows exactly how to take it apart. Piece by piece. So I didn't break down. I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall. I closed the folder. I wiped the logs. I went downstairs, made a cup of coffee, and I started to draw up a new set of blueprints. So, tell me, seriously, put yourself in my shoes. You've just discovered the last 15 years of your life, your wife, your business, her entire family. It's all one giant, elaborate lie. And they're not just leaving you, they're planning to leave you with nothing, to destroy you. What would you have done? Would you have confronted them? Begged? Pleaded? Or would you have done what I did? I really want to know. Tell me in the comments, am I the villain for what I did next? Because I'm really struggling with that. I need to know. So, I had the truth. They weren't just leaving, they were staging a corporate coup. They were planning to steal my work, my clients, and my future. And they were using me to fund it. The European expansion I was coding for, that was the new company. I was literally building the product they were going to steal. I had maybe 3 months. Based on the flight itineraries, they were planning to leave in late April. That gave me 90 days. My first instinct, my human instinct, was to destroy everything. To call a lawyer, to freeze the accounts, to confront her, to scream. But I remembered that smile I saw her exchange with her mother. I remembered her calling me Stefan, and I knew, if I showed my hand, she'd play the victim. She was good at that. She'd been the CEO for a decade. She knew how to twist things. She would have locked me out, claimed I was unstable, and tied me up in court for years while she bled the company dry. I couldn't win a fight she started. I had to win a war she didn't even know she was fighting. I am an architect. So I built. The first step, I had to protect my real work, the new algorithm, the one they wanted. I spent the next 72 hours, no sleep, just coffee and cold, clear rage, doing a full code extraction. I pulled every line of my new proprietary code off the company servers. I triple wiped the commits. I scrubbed the backups. As far as the company was concerned, the project was running into bugs. It was delayed. Then I went online. I formed a new LLC, a shell company, registered in Delaware, completely anonymous. I assigned 100% of the ownership of this new algorithm, this new IP, to that LLC. I documented everything. Every line of code, timestamped, logged, and backed up on a secure, air-gapped hard drive that I kept in a safe deposit box. Legally, the company we shared no longer owned my new work. I did. The second step, the financials. I couldn't just drain our joint accounts. That's illegal. She'd have me. But I could reallocate. I immediately stopped my salary from the company. I filed the paperwork. I was now an unpaid executive, a strategic advisor. She thought I was doing it to save the company money for the expansion. She actually praised me for it. "That's why you're the best, Mark," she said. "Always thinking of the business." I just smiled. That salary I was no longer taking, I started a new account, a private one, under my new LLC, the third step, and this Mark Heseda. This is the part I wonder if this is where I crossed the line. I had to let them steal something. They had to believe their plan was working. If they thought the IP was gone, they'd panic. They'd accelerate. I couldn't have that. So I kept coding. I went to work every day. I sat in that office. And I built them a trap. I built a dummy version of the algorithm. It looked right. The code was complex. It would compile, it would run. But it was intentionally flawed. It had memory leaks. It produced flawed data sets. It would never scale. It was a beautiful, intricate piece of junk. And I left it right there on the server, right where she and Stefan could find it. I even fixed the bugs I'd been complaining about. I made a big show of it. "Honey, I fixed it. The expansion module is ready." I watched her face light up. "That's amazing, Mark. Can you upload it to the shared drive?" "Already done," I said. And then I watched the network logs. That night, 2:13 a.m., her laptop, a connection to the Swiss server. One file downloaded, algorithm hassas final build.zip. She took the bait. For the next 2 months, I lived a lie. I played the part of the supportive, oblivious husband. I went to dinners. I listened to her mother complain about, I don't even know what. I nodded along to Lena's stressful work calls with Stefan. All the while, I was a ghost. I was quietly moving my real assets, my real code, and my real client contacts into my new fortress. I was building my ark, and I was letting her and her family watch the storm clouds gather, thinking they were the ones who controlled the rain. I kept my head down. I let her think she was the smartest person in the room. I let her believe she was winning. The day she'd left, the scene I described, Elle respirafundo. It was theater. I knew exactly why she was leaving. When she stood in the foyer and said, "I need to find myself," what I heard was, "I'm going to Lisbon to meet my lover and launch the company we stole from you." When her mother looked at me with those fake, sad eyes, I knew she was thinking about her office manager job in Switzerland. They were all actors, and I was the only one in the audience who had read the script. When she said, "This, it's not enough," I I had to fight back every urge to say, "I know." I just nodded. I played the part of the sad, abandoned, pathetic husband. "If this is what you need to do, Lena, I won't stop you." She she actually looked disappointed. I think I think she wanted to fight. She wanted me to scream, to beg, to prove I was the unstable one. She wanted a story to tell. She wanted to justify leaving me when I just gave up. It took the wind out of her sails. "Oh," she said. "Good. That that makes this easier." The taxi door slammed. And silence. The house, that 6,000 square foot monument to our success, it was empty. Just me. And I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I felt relief. I felt free. I went to my office. I watched her taxi clear the gate on the security camera, and I started to move. The second her plane was in the air, I checked the flight status. I made my first call to my real lawyer, not the corporate one, my shark. She's gone, I said, and we executed the plan. First, the company, our shared company. I was still a 50% partner. I filed an emergency injunction. I cited gross mismanagement and suspected embezzlement by the CEO, Lena. I had the proof. The network logs showing the download of the IP to a foreign, unauthorized server. Her own emails from the Project New Life folder. I wasn't guessing. I had receipts. The court, it was fast. They froze everything. All the company accounts, all the credit cards, her salary, her access. At 30,000 feet somewhere over the Atlantic, Lena lost her entire income. She just didn't know it yet. Second, the house. Our forever home. It was in both our names. I couldn't sell it, but it was leveraged. We had a massive mortgage on it, one we'd taken out to fund the European expansion. But under my new private LLC, I went to the bank and I bought the debt. I paid cash. I became the lender. The house was now mortgaged. To me. She was leaving me, but she was still going to be paying me. Third, the divorce. This was the masterpiece. 2 weeks later, just as I knew she would, I got the email from her lawyer. She was filing for divorce in the U.S., citing irreconcilable differences. She wanted it fast. She wanted it clean. She was offering a generous settlement. She would take the failing European division of the company, the one she was running into the ground, and I could keep everything else. The house with its massive debt, the struggling U.S. company. She just wanted to be free. It was perfect. She thought she was tricking me. She thought she was taking the only thing of value, the new algorithm, and leaving me with a mountain of debt and a company shell. I signed. I agreed instantly. I signed everything she put in front of me. I didn't fight. I didn't ask for $1. Yes, Lena. Whatever you want, Lena. You're right, Lena. The divorce was finalized in 45 days, the fastest divorce in California history. In the decree signed by her, she willingly signed over her 50% stake in the U.S. company. She willingly kept the European division, which was just her and Stefan, and she willingly kept the stolen code. The trap was set, the door was locked, and she had just handed me the key. For the next 4 months, silence. I rebuilt. I dissolved the old company. I folded all the real assets, the real client list, into my new LLC. I contacted my core clients, the ones I had the relationships with, and I told them the truth. I said, Lena's gone. The old company is dead, but I'm still here, and I have this. And I showed them the real algorithm. They stayed. Every single one of them. Because they weren't buying her sales pitch. They were buying my code. I moved out of the house. I let the new bank, my bank, foreclose on it. I couldn't live there anymore. It was tainted. I bought a much smaller place. A condo. It's quiet. Then call came. About 6 weeks ago. It was her. Lena. She didn't sound like Lena. She wasn't the sharp, confident CEO. She was screaming. I put her on speaker. Her voice was shredded. What did you do, Mark? What did you do? I waited. The code, it doesn't work. It's garbage. It's corrupted. We've spent millions trying to launch it. Stefan, and then the story came pouring out. Stefan, the business consultant, the lover. He wasn't her partner. She was his mark. He'd convinced her to steal the IP. He'd put up the seed money for the new Swiss company. And when the product, my dummy product, failed to launch, when their new clients, the ones he'd promised, started suing, he he did what he does. He vanished. He he didn't just leave her, he cleaned her out. The money she'd siphoned from our company, the money she'd borrowed from her family, he took it. All of it. He left her in Lisbon, in an apartment she couldn't afford, with a failed company, with zero prospects, and with her family. Her mother, her sisters, her cousin, all of them, who had moved to Europe expecting to be rich. And now they were all looking at her. She was crying. You did this. You ruined me. You knew. And I just said it, quietly. Yes. I have nothing, she sobbed. I'm I'm coming home. We we have to fix this, the house. We can sell the house. And that's when I told her, "What house, Lena? The bank foreclosed on that house 2 months ago. It's gone. The the company, the US company, the clients." "What company?" I said. "You signed that away. You valued it at zero, remember? You left me with a failing business, Lena." And I did what I had to do. I I let it fail. There was just this this sound, this animal sound of realization, the sound of a trap springing shut. She understood, not not just that she'd lost, but that I had let her, that I, quiet, boring, predictable Mark, had seen everything, had anticipated everything. She showed up last week. She flew back. Somehow she doesn't look the same. She looks old. She came to my new office, the small one. She stood in the doorway and she stared at me and she said, I never thought you'd be capable of this." And I looked her right in the eye and I said, "You never thought I'd be capable of anything." She wanted to argue, to scream, to, I don't know, apologize, but her words, they died. She saw it. She saw me. Finally. She realized she'd gambled everything. Her marriage, her future, her family, for a man who vanished, and she'd lost it all. To the man she'd underestimated, she just turned and she left. So that's the story. She's staying with her sister, I think. They're they're facing lawsuits in Switzerland. Her family, they're they're destroyed. They blame her for everything. And me? I have my company. It's doing well. I'm safe. But I feel empty. I didn't want this. I didn't want to destroy her. I just wanted to survive. I I built a defense. And and when she pushed the whole house of cards, it just it came down. So this is why I turned the camera on. Am I the villain? Did I go too far? I built the weapon. I loaded it. But she pulled the trigger, right? I don't know. I really don't know how to feel. I need you to tell me. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you would have done. Be honest. I need to know.